Welcome back to another episode of the Field of 68's NBA Draft Prospect Profiles for the year 2024. My name is Rob Doster. I have T.O. with me, a Tennessee native, and we are going to be talking today about a Tennessee Volunteer. Good old Rocky Top, Dalton Knecht, fresh off of a season where, as a 23-year-old, as a fifth-year senior, he averaged 21.7 points, 4.9 boards, and 1.8 assists on shooting splits of 40% from three, and 77% from the line. He shot 39.7% on threes, to be exact, T.O., on 6.5 three-point attempts per game. Here is my favorite stat about Dalton Knecht, and I texted this to you earlier. 70% of his jumpers this season were considered guarded jumpers, according to Synergy. And he finished, despite that, in the 80th percentile in jump shot points per possession, or points per shot, according to Synergy. That is the and it was 64th percentile finishing at the rim. But the fact that he made so many jump shots and shot it so efficiently, despite the fact that all of the shots that he was taking were tough jumpers, is part of the reason why I think that he's going to be able to have that skill translate to the NBA. He's got a high release point. He's got a high vertical. He's got a shot that is difficult to block, and he can get it off despite the fact that it is contested. Yeah. And here's my favorite thing about him. For people that don't know the story, he was 6 foot as a junior in high school. He had one scholarship offer coming out of high school, so he went to JUCO. Spent 2 years playing JUCO at 2 different JUCOs. And then when he left JUCO, it was the choice between Northern Colorado and one other mid-major program that was not in Colorado. He's from Colorado. So he went to Northern Colorado, averaged 9 points as a junior. As a senior, he averaged 20 points per game. Transfers to Tennessee, transfers to the SEC, and has a first-team All-American caliber season. This dude has not stopped getting better at any point in his life. What do you make of him as an NBA player, and why is he a plug-and-play? I think he's ready to play in the NBA right now.
Well, first of all, he tests well. I mean, when I say tests well, the dude's an athlete. You know, a lot of people get caught up, me included, in like, would they test? Would they do this? Are you a good floor athlete? Well, Dalton Knecht is certainly that. So he is going to be able to compete from a size perspective, from an athleticism perspective right away. I consider him one of the highest floor prospects in this draft because out of the corners, out of the left corner, he shot 42.5%. Out of the right corner, he shot 41. So like those are mostly catch and shoots, because in the corners, there's not a whole lot of damage that you can do trying to create something else. So those are catch and shoot opportunities. Pure release does catch it a little high and tends to play a little bit too high and upright. And I think that had a lot to do with his usage rate at Tennessee. He got tired at times, but he's going to be at worst a second unit spark plug. He's older. He's a guy who's kind of been through the ringer a little bit. The sucker competes and he will punch it on your head. He is a good, functional NBA athlete. I don't even have his combine numbers. I don't really think they matter as much because you saw what's on the floor. But high release point, he's going to be able to score almost right away. I do think it will be difficult for him to be a number one guy at any point on a floor. I do think he could be a guy that, if he's the third option, you sit down option one and option two at the end of the first quarter, he can carry an offense for that amount of time, if that makes sense. And there's a guy that I want to compare him to a little bit here in a moment that does exactly that. He can score it. And I do think because of the mileage on his body has been fairly low, because he went from JUCO to Northern Colorado to Tennessee, he reversed Scottie Pippened it, or he modern day Scottie Pippened it to where he grew a lot late. I'm excited about what he's going to be able to be. And if you already have a couple of stars in place, this is a guy you need to think about just because of his potential as a third scorer, or a third or a fourth option on the floor, who's not going to overexert himself unless he absolutely needs to. Dalton Knecht's a nice player, good athlete. He came to Tennessee so that he could become a better defender. The metrics, especially on Synergy, suggest that he's an excellent defender. I don't know that that's the case. I do think that he is a good enough defender that people aren't going to be able to take advantage of him. He was hidden quite a bit because his responsibilities on the offensive end of the floor were so vast for the Volunteers. I don't think that he's a guy that's going to struggle on that end of the floor. He's going to be able to compete. He's going to compete, and you don't have to worry about him showing up on a night-to-night basis. And I think he's got enough asshole in him to score 15 points a night just because he doesn't care. He knows what he's there to do.
Yep. I think he's more than just a spot up guy too. Like I think he'll be someone that can attack closeouts. I think he's someone that you can run off of screens and trust to kind of curl in the lane and get a shot. I don't think that he is.
I think he can be an on-ball shot creator for himself.
Yes. I don't think he is a shot creator for others, which is what kind of limits him in terms of his upside as why he's more of a complementary piece as opposed to a guy that was a star like he was in college. Like he's not going to go out there. Well, for the people that didn't watch Tennessee this year, what would happen is they would kind of do some stuff and they would run some stuff and they try to get everybody else going and they try to figure out some answers. And then all of a sudden you get to a point in the game where Rick Barnes was like, you know what? Fuck this. Give the ball to Dalton, get the hell out of the way. Dalton, go make something happen.
There's a lot of do him offenses with the Vols this year, or a simple pin down just to get it to him. And
Rick Barnes had multiple times where he said what we do sometimes is run our Kevin Durant offense for Dalton Knecht, where they just give him the ball and say, get the hell out of the way. Dalton, you do whatever you want to do. He would call for a ball screen. If he wanted it, he'd try to get a switch that he wanted, or if he liked the matchup, he'd just go one-on-one. And he's not going to be doing that stuff in the NBA, but I think it does speak to his ability to be able to take advantage if he gets into those situations in moments and against maybe a second unit. I also agree with you in terms of defensively. The biggest issue with him in terms of what his weaknesses are for me is going to be on the defensive end of the floor. And I think a lot of that, we'll find out whether or not a lot of that is a result of the minutes that he played, but I think a lot of it can be explained away by saving his legs to be able to make sure that he's able to get shots and kind of hiding him defensively.
Yeah, I think he's fine. I think he'll be fine defensively. I think he'll be fine defensively. I think one more positive to throw in there, the dude is electric in transition. And the NBA in the regular season, you're going to get 7 or 8 possessions if you're playing elongated minutes where that ball's flying and you're going to be able to finish in transition. He is going to be able to do that. I agree with you from the defensive aspect, and I alluded to it a little bit. I thought his responsibilities on offense kind of held back what Tennessee really wanted to do with him because they needed him on the other side of the floor so much. I don't plan on that being a huge issue. I do think the focus on the defensive end of the floor is going to be that differentiator for him, whether he's going to be a third option and a starter as opposed to a guy that comes off the bench and is a spark plug. The thing that is a little worrisome with him for me is assist to turnover ratio. He's 1-to-1. And whenever you watch him play and the assists did come about, they weren't second level reads. They were very simple reads. I'm driving one side of the floor. They help strong side corner. I kick out. I get down the middle of the floor. 2 people come to me. I'm going to hit the roller because the second side help is coming over late. So we're going to get a quick dunk. Those were the kind of reads that he was able to make. He's not making like backsides coming in a little too quick. I can hit that skip pass going away from that side of the floor. That's something I think eventually he's going to be able to do because he has the height and the length to be able to get those passes off. But he is very much a scoring guy. And if you're bringing him into your franchise or organization, he's going to do that first and foremost. So I think fit is key. I think he's very much a know what you get prospect, very, very much in the same vein as a Jaime Jaquez, who you knew what you were getting coming in, a little bit bigger of a scorer, understood what he is from the get-go. And I think Dalton Knecht next year will be on that first or second team all-rookie team because he's going to be able to come in, compete, and get those numbers as good as anybody else in this draft.
Yeah, I think he's a different player than Jaime Jaquez.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. But what I mean
in terms of impact.
Yeah, impact, being ready, knowing who you are. There's no ambiguity with him. He's there to score, and he's going to be able to score against certain matchups.
Yep. I also think that with his size,
and he's one of the older guys in the draft too. Like that's a detractor as much as
he started JUCO, man. Like he's not coming in with an ego. And I know that some of this stuff kind of becomes a cliche, but he's not coming in as somebody that had his ass kissed playing on the EYBL circuit for 3 years before getting to college as a one and done McDonald's All-American, where everything was about NIL this, NIL. Like, he grinded his way up from literally the lowest level of college basketball that you could be at to being a first-team All-American in 5 years. And a lot of that had to do with a growth spurt, but a lot of that had to do with him working his ass off. And I think that there's something to be said for guys that come from that level, and the level of, as John Henson likes to put it, the level of dog that he's gotten him.
This would be a perfect fit.
Yes.
Charlotte Hornets would be a perfect fit. You have Brandon Miller at the 2, LaMelo at the 1. You could bring Dalton Knecht in as a third guy, and you can continue. And they're so young, the Hornets, that like you want a little bit more certainty. And I understand like you want to swing for the fences, but like he would make a lot of sense there at 6, especially if Reed Sheppard's off the board. Like just something, you know what you're getting in terms of a score.
Whether you are a world-class athlete or a podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. After a 6-month season loaded with cross-country travel, I can promise you that proper recovery is a priority for me these days. That's why I'm excited that Unified Healing is sponsoring this episode of the Field of 68. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or the EE system. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in New Jersey or at one of the hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. If you're interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself, go to unifiedhealing.com/unified68 to learn more and find a center near you. That's UNIFYD healing.com/UNIFYD, the number 6, the number 8. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as medical advice or as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE system. All right, let's get into the NBA comparisons, because I have can I guess on who yours is going to be? Because I think I know who it's going to be. Is it Bogdanovich?
Yeah, Bogey from the Atlanta Hawks. Because what happens is DeJounte Murray and Trae Young, they go to the bench 4-minute mark in the first quarter to get their rest. Bogey carries the offense for the X amount of time that he's in for the rest of that quarter until those superstars come back in. And I could see some similarities with certain teams around the NBA where they need that third guy that can at least prop you up throughout the course of the season for 3 or 4 minutes at a time. I think Dalton Knecht can do that. And I also think, given his percentages on catch and shoot situations, I think he's going to be a quality fit beside some of these quality playmakers that I have. They're young, but I think that they'll fit nicely beside them.
Yeah. So I have, I kind of have 2 comparisons written down here. One of them is going to be the floor. And I think worst case scenario, what you're looking at is a Doug McDermott-esque kind of a guy that can be out there, and he's just going to, at the very least, be able to space the floor, be able to drill jump shots, and be able to kind of be out there and be a piece. If the defense doesn't translate, and if the individual shot creation, this like the off the dribble stuff, doesn't translate to the NBA the way that we think it might, I think you're looking at a guy that's coming in and is going to be a Doug McDermott. And Doug McDermott has played in the NBA for 10 years as basically a guy that stands out there on the 3-point line and makes open threes that are catch and shoot threes. And I think Dalton Knecht, at the very least, can do that. In terms of what his ceiling is, I think he can be Grayson Allen. I think he can be a guy that is your, what is it, like your 3rd or your 4th option, someone that's going to average like somewhere in the neighborhood of 12 to 15 points per game, someone that's going to shoot 40+% from 3, someone that's going to
play. Hey, since we're doing all white guys, let me just throw in Kevin Huerter too. Because I was thinking about Kevin Huerter too, like the 3rd or 4th option. Like, there you go. Let's just go ahead and throw more out there.
Get them all out there, man.
Yeah, and he's redheaded, and they're both redheaded guys. So there you go. The comparisons never end. Red velvet for 3.
Yeah, Grayson Allen at this point is more of a white-haired guy than anything else. I don't even know if you
Yeah.
noted that, but the salt and pepper is starting to be a little bit more salt than it is pepper.
Well, I'll tell
With
you what,
Grayson at this point.
the color in his hair is about to come back in. Didn't he sign a $70 million
Well, that's what I
money?
was going to say. Is like
He can
Grayson
afford some
Allen.
head and shoulders now.
Yeah, Grayson Allen has already made more than $30 million in his career and just signed an extension for $70 million. So he's going to be a $100 million player. And here's the other thing I'll say. Doug McDermott played 4 years in college, left as an All-American, right? Grayson Allen played 4 years in college, won a national championship, left. I don't know if he was an All-American his senior year, but he had been an All-American in his career. And I think that speaks well to what Dalton Knecht was in college and what he can be at the next level. I think that he's going to be a really good impact role guy for a long time. Worst case scenario is, I would say, he is a defensive liability that gets picked on every time he's in the game and can't stop anyone and can't keep anyone in front of him. Struggles to adjust to the length off the dribble. And as a result, is probably someone that is in Europe by the end of his rookie contract as a 27-year-old. I think that's the worst case scenario for him, but I don't think that is what actually happens.
No, I don't think that happens either. I think he's just a scorer, and with the floor being even more open, he's going to have some highlights in the half court because he's going to catch guys sleeping, and the fact that he can get downhill quickly, being a really good athlete, he can get downhill quickly and go off 1 foot. He's going to have some highlight reel dunks over the next few years. Like I'm a fan. I'm not mad at that Grayson Allen comparison because I remember some of the dunks that Grayson had in college. I'm not mad at that one. I do think
Grayson won the dunk contest when he was the McDonald's All-American dunk contest in, what was it, 2014, something like that.
Yeah, yesterday. I'm not mad at that comparison. I think they're both really good athletes, and I do think, I was going up and down at who he could kind of be, and I just think because I'm not sure he doesn't see some of these things, some of the passes and so forth, and the fact that he can get into the lane, I think that Bogdanovich comparison with a little bit more explosion, I think that's completely possible. He's going to have to become a better passer, but I have faith that he handles the ball well enough that he's going to be able to do that.
Yep. Yeah, I feel good about him. I think Dalton Knecht is going to surprise a lot of. Well, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but I think
surprise is not the right word. I think he's one of the higher floor prospects. Because
you know what you're getting when you're drafting a 23-year-old man. You know what you're getting. It's not like we're going to talk about some of these other high upside guys that are 19 and 20 years old where you're betting on them and betting on their development. You know exactly what you're getting with Dalton Knecht, and he's going to help a team win games. The only problem is where he's going to get picked means he's probably going to help a team go from being like a 30-win team to a 38-win team this season. So it is what it is. Listen, this has been the Field of 68's NBA Draft Prospect Profiles. Terrence Oglesby, Rob Doster, make sure you keep it tuned here. We are going to be doing a live NBA mock draft about a week or so before the NBA draft itself actually happens. Full first round mock. It's always fun to do these exercises. So stay tuned for that on the Field of 68. We'll see you guys in the next episode.